Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Wealth Clock with Stephen Weinstock. I've been investing in real estate for over 20 years. Started off with single family homes, moved on to multifamily properties, and recently launched my own real estate investment fund. This show is brought to you by my company, Week Capital, and the Goethals Capital Fund, where we buy properties in cash, lock in deep discounts, we eliminate mortgage risk in year one, and we refinance later on in order to scale. Today's guest has a very fascinating career. His name is Georgy Marrero. He went from earning nearly $800,000 a year at Meta. Some of you may know that as Facebook. He was working on generative AI and reality labs, and he walked away from tech entirely. But I guess he'll tell us if he's still involved in some tech to build a real estate portfolio now valued at over $35 million. He is the founder of Ekis Capital, multifamily investor. He also is a former Amazon Alexa ML machine learning engineer, and he started coding at a young age. He built his first business at 14. At 14, wow, okay, I guess we'll get into that. And you were making six figures while most kids his age was trying to get beer without an ID. We'll talk about why he left a lucrative job in tech, how he scaled quickly in real estate, and most importantly, the mindset that drives him. This is going to be a powerful conversation. Georgy, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Very happy to be here.
Okay, Georgy, first just tell us what was the exact moment you decided to leave Facebook or Meta?
It was really a gradual thing, but I guess when a lot of different pressures aligned, I decided to take the leap. But the core motivation of leaving was really the seek of freedom. I was trying to get more autonomy, and it was something that I had at Meta, but slowly I stopped exercising or having, and at one point as I had a split life between being an engineer in AI and also a part-time real estate investor, I looked at my portfolio and the new deals that I had, which were turning more into development and other more interesting stuff. And I realized that I didn't have to be in the 9 to 5 grind and I could just be doing real estate more full time.
So you have this great job. People are envious of you. How'd your family and friends react by saying, "Hey, I'm leaving this great job and I'm going to try something different"?
Most of the people that know me, they didn't find it surprising. The people that didn't know me, they found it surprising, especially the people that were already in big tech. They understood why I left. Some of them that are still in tech sent me messages saying, "You made it. You broke from the golden handcuffs." I, of course, called my mother. She was one of the first calls, and she just told me that she trusted my instinct, whatever I was doing.
You're making some serious coin over there, definitely more than most people your age. Now, you're in a group of other engineers, so I guess everybody's in your boat and they're jealous of you that you left, as you call it, the golden handcuffs. But from perspective with everybody else looking in, you have this great job, a great job security, and you're leaving to collect rent. This is a tremendous pivot. A lot of people who complain about their W-2 jobs aren't making that much to begin with, or they just really hate it. And here you're working for a company that's famous. You're on the cusp of tech, and it must have been a real change.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's probably something that I wouldn't recommend to the normal person. I've always been less risk averse than my peers. But one of the thought that were inside of my head as I made the decision was that if I achieved it once, I can achieve it again. If I, One of the questions I asked myself was, what's the worst that can happen? Leave Meta and then I go back and get another job for $400,000, maybe half of what I was making. And that's not something to cry about. That's actually pretty good.
Now, when you made this leap and gave your 2 weeks notice, so to speak, Were you already involved in real estate? Were you already an owner? Were you a passive investor on the side? Tell us how you had the cojones to literally leave this great job and go to something else.
Yeah, my story is similar to yours, Stephen, in which I started with single family homes. And a few years in, I realized that it was a slow path to achieve anything very meaningful. It was definitely more of a hobbyist thing to do for me. I slowly transitioned into multifamily and understood the leverage that just playing a game that was a bit bigger, where I could focus on a particular role, allow me to do. But I think the most important thing that doing real estate at such a larger scale taught me was the art and science of being an entrepreneur. And just the new mindset that I had after doing multifamily allowed me to see that money really was everywhere. And I had a agency for the tech that I knew to give as a service. And I also had the real estate portfolio, which was doing very well. I was doing refinances that were giving me meaningful cash that I could decide what to do with, whether reinvest or use for something else. So I found myself in that position where multiple streams of income gave me options. And as I noticed the upward trajectory of the real estate space, I made a decision. It was a risk, but a year after, I think it was the best decision that I could have made at the moment.
So while you're working at the Meta, you are an owner of single family homes and some multifamily at this point, or
Yeah, yeah. I had a portfolio of single family, small multifamily. A lot of them I just own outright. I also had some joint ventures in the multifamily space, self storage, and I was already under contract for a few other projects and very, let's say, deep in them. I was also doing a development at the time, although it was very early stage and now it's almost terminating.
and this is all while employed. Am I correct?
Yes, it was.
Now, what's your role in this portfolio at this point while you're employed? Are you the GP? Are you the LP? Single family homes, I'll guess that you're just buying them on your own. But as far as some of the larger projects, were you partnering up with others or were you just the capital? Where were you at this stage?
I was both LP and GP in all of the deals that were larger.
Got it. Okay. Becoming a GP while employed is definitely a handful. And did you ever tap any of your network of high earners, high income earners in your field for investors as an investor into your deals?
Yes, absolutely. Just by being in the office, and I was still remote, but people asked me, "What do you do this weekend?" And me just telling them that I was looking at a property, that definitely sparked interests in the people around me, and they did invest with me. We did some joint ventures together. Also, the people that I went to school with at UC Berkeley, some of them were at Google, at Apple. They were high earners as well, and I was telling them what I was doing, and they joined me on the deals.
And they came in for the most part as LPs. They saw you doing deals. They were getting antsy with keeping their money just in the bank and they figure they'll invest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I explained to them the potential of real estate and the usefulness of having some of your money diversified into real estate. Once I brought it into numbers, they quickly understood about the tax benefits and all of that. And they trusted me and gave me their capital. Some of them were more interested in the more active side, and a few of them I brought them in as a joint venture partner and taught them the ropes. But for the most part, most of my investors from tech were limited partners.
What's your background? Is your family tech millionaires, gazillionaires? What's your background? Where you're from? Tell us a little about you.
Yeah. So I grew up in the Dominican Republic, and no, my family wasn't a wealthy family at all. I remember when I was a kid, as soon as I was 12, my mom sat me down and showed me her finances. She made roughly probably $20,000 a year. That was it.
And this is in the Dominican?
This is in the Dominican, yes.
Wow. When did you get
20
to the US?
I got to the US when I was 18.
Okay, so you came for the most part as an adult.
Yes.
You came for college or you came with your family?
I so when I was 17, I started looking at curriculum for computer science. I started coding when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
My dad bought me a computer when I was 7, and my mom put the internet, dial-up internet, when I was 8.
Do you remember what type of computer that was, the first one?
Oh my God. I can't remember the brand, but it was one of those big boxes, monitors, beige, with the screen that came out, and it was huge and heavy. I used to open everything. I had a screwdriver, open everything, and I was basically offline for 4 hours until I fixed it myself. And I think that's what got me into coding.
What was the first property you bought?
The first property I bought was a house for my grandmother. Wasn't an investment property, but I underwrote it. It was essentially, I found myself with money for the first time, an amount of money. I probably 5 times in a lump sum bonus, 5 times what my mom used to earn in 1 year.
Wow.
And first thing I did, I bought a house for my grandmother. For some reason, she didn't want to move in it. So the underwriting came in very useful. I pulled up the Excel sheet and I decided to sell at the price that I had in mind. I sold it to a gentleman and I made 20% in about 7 months. And that's really what marked my next acquisitions and me as a real estate investor.
What year was this?
Oof, this was around 2019.
Got it. Okay, yeah, it was a good time to buy. Where was this property?
This was in the Dominican Republic, two
Oh, wow.
blocks away from the old neighborhood I grew up in.
Today's investments are in the US or in the Dominican?
So most of the things where I'm active and my team serves near vertical integration, including property management, construction, and all of that, is in the Dominican Republic. But I do have a very nice operation still in the US. We just acquired 2 things this month. And so I do both, but I rely more on partners, very vetted partners, and my mentors, honestly, when it comes to the US. And in the Dominican Republic, I've done about 6 deals, 6 big deals, and I have 2 more in the pipeline right now.
How does the industry in the DR compare to the US? Now, I'm not talking about rental amounts, but I'm just talking about financing, mortgages, first lien positions. Is it similar? Is it the same?
It is a very interesting market. So first, it's a very creative market when it comes to financing. Everybody understands creative financing and offers it. If you ask someone about cap rates, they start laughing at you. It's not a concept. Even when you build a multifamily, one of the things that the developers do is they break all of the units and have individual titles for all of them. So it is very much you build and sell or you buy and sell, unless you're going more towards hotels and industrial. I am coming into the industrial space here in the Dominican Republic because it makes a lot of sense with foreign corporate tenants, for instance. And when it comes to financing, the banks do a lot of due diligence. A running joke is they want you to finish the project and then they will give you money, which is almost true. But 50% financing on the debt side seems to be the most common. And interest rates are high. They're in the double digits, 14% on something stabilized as normal.
That's today at 14%, roughly?
Yeah,
And
you could,
what about the 3, 4 years ago? What was it?
similar. It was very similar.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
Okay.
know
The deal has to pencil in.
the deal has to pencil in. I opt to not use any debt when I'm doing things here. But if I use a debt, it's something very short term and I have a way to pay it.
Do you bring US investors to your deals here in the DR?
Yes.
Do you ever bump into potential investors who are just afraid of investing outside of the US?
Yes, but I've also found some investors that are very excited to invest outside of the US. So I get both, but there is risk. There's title risk, there's construction risk, there's a lot of risk. And that's what we have come to understand very well. Build a team that can figure out everything from taxation to all the little nuanced issues that can occur.
So you mentioned if you're developing a multifamily, they deed or title each unit individually and they get sold off. Are there no corporate landlords in Dominican?
I haven't seen it much for the multifamily, more for office, industrial, that exists more.
Is
Retail,
that a rule or is it just the way it's going?
it's just the way it's gone. And haven't found a buyer that will want to buy the entire thing. But ways is common. So usually the developer keeps the HOA.
So you may have a guy or a company that owns 50 apartments, but they're typically buying one at a time from developers, and his 50 apartments may be spread out on 10 different buildings.
Oh, yeah. Recently, I had a portfolio sale of 44 apartments in a very big project in Punta Cana. And that was essentially what it was.
Wow. What are you working on today? Or what was your 9 to 5 like yesterday?
I still have a split life between real estate and tech, but the intersection of tech and real estate has been more common nowadays. So everything I do in real estate, when it comes to acquisition, financing, all the way to operations and management, we're very tech enabled. So I try to bring a lot of my background into it. I have a team of engineers and it's about 15 or so through my company, Nshot. And we are essentially AI service provider for real estate adjacent companies. But it started because I was building a lot of tech for what I did. So half of my time is doing that. The other half is working on the real estate projects. But the most yesterday, 9 to 5, I was working on one of the developments. I have a luxury villa development here in the Dominican Republic.
You mentioned this company is called Nshot.
Yes,
Is that just moon spelled backwards?
bingo.
Got it. And you mentioned that you're creating or working with real estate adjacent companies. So I'm going to guess that we're talking about either mortgage brokers or construction guys, title. Just tell me give me some examples of what you're doing, how it works.
Yeah. Those examples that you mentioned are exactly them. So one of our clients is a mortgage broker, and we help in the operations for new loan origination and essentially in the marketing and sales, and also the tech that they use, the underlying tech, whether it's a CRM, but also all of the automations that they need to be just more modern. We bring ideas that are successful from other industries and we just bring it into real estate because we desperately need it. The other type of companies are service companies, roofers, builders, and they also need better operations so they can scale.
Is this company Noomshot? Are you focused on the USA, Dominican, international?
So most of our clients are USA, but we're open.
What are some of the skills you learned from Meta or from Amazon that carried over to real estate?
Asking questions and going very deep and not just being very clear when you speak, but also when you think. So a lot of the tests that we use to write for code, we essentially write them for our underwriting or due diligence. And that's essentially crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's.
When you're doing some of these deals in the Dominican, you mentioned that you're trying to avoid debt from banks. Does that mean you are coming to the closing, so to speak, with the full capital stack coming from either investors or your own money?
Yes, but also being very creative with joint ventures and also seller financing.
Got it. Any big wins with seller financing recently that you could talk about?
Yeah, we did a land acquisition and it seller financing was just a small component of it, but essentially we bought half off and we just have the land ready to build right now. It sounds exciting, but given how often that happens here, it's more common.
When you're speaking to investors, you come from a background in tech, you have a network of similar minded people, you are able to build trust with them because they know you, or they feel like they know you because of what you did and the way you are. I've spoken to doctor recently who's has a tremendous portfolio, and all his investors are other doctors, and they know him. They're in a club. They know him. They're in a club. And he says that even when he raises money from non-medical professionals, the fact that he has that white jacket gives him some sort of gravitas. And if he's good enough to be a doctor, he must be good enough to be a real estate investor, and he must be trustworthy, etc. And that really helps him with his raise. I'm guessing that the bulk of your investors, or at least when he started out, were people in your field. And have you been able to expand to others?
Yes, I have noticed what you've described with the doctor, and there is that level of affinity when someone who is already in tech, who understands how hard it is to get to one of these companies or even into one of these teams inside of the companies, that gives you instant credibility in that field. It doesn't have to be someone in Meta. It can be someone in another company, Airbnb or Uber. I I have other investors that come from other fields, and I found that the same credibility from the tech side helps, but it hasn't been in my goals lately to just go into another segment. I think that segment still has a lot of people that do not understand real estate or want to do real estate, but haven't found the right bridge to get to it.
I would agree with you. That field has high earners, people who are working 50, 60, 80 hours a week. They're making lots of money. And, after a while, they realize how much in taxes they're paying, and they're figuring out a way to diversify. Some of them might be upset with the stock market or feel like they have too much in there and eventually want to diversify. So, yeah, it's definitely a good to draw from in your scenario. Definitely helps. Where do you see Equis? Now, again, I'm going to keep saying in my head before I read it, I call it Equis. Now, it's spelled Equuis, but you corrected me before we started that it's not Equis, it is Equis,
You
right?
have great Spanish accent, Stephen.
Okay. I live in Brooklyn. I'm born and raised and live in Brooklyn, New York, but I know zero Spanish except for gracias and mañana. But it would definitely help me out the more Spanish I know. I deal with tenants in some of the properties who speak Spanish. And years ago it was much tougher. These days, texting them is easy. But thank you for the compliment that I have a great accent. Where do you see your company headed over the next 5 years?
I think we will possibly have a fund. It streamlines a lot of things,
Sure.
and especially because our deal flow has been narrowing when it comes to the type and business strategy. So it makes a fund just one simple mission, one simple business plan for it. So I definitely see that. And I think with what's coming right now, I'm hopeful about the market. We have been doing acquisitions in the last few years, even though it has been a rough market, and things are supposed and they're looking like they will soften. So I think we're very well positioned to deliver very good returns to our investors and get even better deals at what we have been getting lately. I also see more international deals. I do want to continue focusing on the Dominican Republic, especially since I have a very strong team here. So I see us bridging that gap, whether it is for US citizens see the need of going more international, or whether it is maybe Latinos in the US who want to contribute to the communities back home.
How's your day compared to when you worked at Meta? Let me back up. When you worked at Meta, you were living in the US or you were in the DR?
I
Both.
was I spent about 8 years in California and 3 years in Orlando. I was first in California when it was Facebook, and then when it was Meta, I was in Orlando. So I was in the US.
What's your day like today or these days compared to when you had that W-2 corporate job?
Yeah, so the challenges are more challenging and they're nonstop and they have to be dealt with. But my days are way lighter in a sense. Even though my responsibilities are more, my days are lighter. Just the autonomy that I have and the freedom to choose what project, who to work with, who are going to be my partners, it fulfills me a lot. Honestly, some days I'm just running around. Some days I'm at the beach. It really depends. I get to choose, and sometimes I choose just working.
If you weren't in real estate or tech, what else would you be doing?
Oh man, that's a great question.
As a baseball fan, without stereotyping, I know the DR throws off, no pun intended, throws off great baseball players.
I played 10 years of baseball.
way,
Yes.
way to keep the stereotype going. All right.
Yes. So the hometown I grew up in is San Pedro de Macorís. That's the home of Sammy Sosa, Robinson Cano, Fernando Tatis. It's the number one city of the Dominican Republic, and Dominican Republic is the number one exporter of baseball players.
Oh, wow. You live in a country where most of us go to vacation. I myself have been to Santo Domingo. Am I correct? That's in the
Yes,
uh,
capital.
capital. All right. And I've been to, actually, no, I was supposed to go to Punta Cana, but did not end up making it there. Tell our audience a little about the DR, Dominican Republic, that most of us don't know. We just know it as a place to go for a weekend. If we can get a good deal with Spirit Air, we hop on a flight, and next thing we're there. Tell us a little about the DR.
There's definitely more than Punta Cana. That's the first thing. And it's a very nice place to enjoy yourself. People are very happy. The food is great. And there's other beaches that are incredible. There's a lot of business to be made here, not just real estate, but especially in real estate. A lot of people do real estate, but they don't have the same level of sophistication that people in the US has. And, that can be a good thing for a player coming in, wanting to partner up with somebody else. Yeah.
What's the most memorable property you've bought?
That house for my grandmother,
Even though she didn't end up living in the house, is that correct?
even though she didn't end up living in it. It was unfinished. The owners previously they ran out of money, so I bought it, and she was supposed to be the first one to live in it. But I think that started it all for me. So that's the most memorable one.
I've spoken to a lot of people in the real estate business, and I've bumped into so many that got into the business by being what's called an accidental landlord. You have people who bought a house for themselves. For whatever reason, they have to relocate or they want to upgrade. And for whatever reason, they either couldn't or don't want to sell the house. They end up renting it out. And only then, when you start getting some rent, do the numbers really start clicking. Like, wow, I got this rent. I'm making an extra $100 on top, and I'm paying down my loan, and the value is going up, and there's potential tax benefits. Wow, sign me up. And that's really how it started with me. When I started, my goal was to buy one single family home and pay it off over a 30-year period with a traditional loan. And that would be like an added 401k, an added retirement for myself. And only after 2 or 3 months of collecting rent did I really start. When you're in it, you really are in it. When you're just thinking about it, it's a different ballgame. And only after 2 or 3 months of collecting rent did I realize, wow, like, why can't I do a second one and maybe a third? And really, it was off to the races after that. And that's how I got into it. I had a corporate job at the time and I quickly pivoted. I was still young. I was living at home with my parents. I didn't have too many expenses, but that's really how I got into it. If you had a week with no phone, no computer, how would you spend
Surfing.
it? Okay. We have, I'm not sure if you see this, but we have what's called Shabbos, the Sabbath. So we
Yeah.
have one day a week. We have 25 hours a week where we unplug. And as a kid, yeah, I was a little upset. No TV, no, can't watch Saturday morning cartoons or whatever it was. As an adult, it's like the best thing to ever happen. It's just so amazing. I get to shut off my phone. I get to not talk business. I spend time with my family. It's really something that as you get older, you start appreciating a lot more. And I know there's a push with others to try to unplug for just a few hours at a time. Definitely try it. I'm not here to convert you to any religion, but definitely try unplugging. If you don't already, it would definitely change your entire mindset. Besides surfing, how else are you chilling? Are you binging Netflix? Are you traveling the world? What's your go-to?
I like traveling a lot. That is my scheduled time of unplugging. I work very hard during the week and sometimes weekends because I'm on a mission, but I always take that time off. This winter, I'm taking my mother, my brother, girlfriend, and we're just going to Europe.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm already making preparations so I don't have to be present at any of the businesses.
Where in Europe are you going? Anywhere fun and exciting?
We're going to Spain, and mother's request, she wants to go to Rome. So I guess we're going to Rome.
Okay. You seem family is very important to you. You mentioned your grandmother. You mentioned this excellent vacation with your family. So that's very important. I guess it keeps you grounded no matter how much money you're making, whether it's at Meta or in real estate or with AI. I guess your mother could always still tell you, throw out the garbage.
Yes, except, yes, I think there's not a lot of use for money if you don't spend it the right ways. It just so happens that at the core, what I deem most important is family. And it depends on people. For some people, family can be the closest group of friends for whatever reason. But I think that mother, grandmother, I don't have kids yet, but I think it will always be at my core. And one thing, Steven, that we're in this business, always ask questions before taking money from an investor. And in this entire year, the last 8 months, the more I ask why, people say family, the reason that they want to invest in real estate and get some passive income and get a little bit more money from taxes and maybe leave their job in the future or have the option to leave their job. And I still continue asking them why. They always come back to me and say, because I want to spend more time with the family. And that makes me very happy. That's the moment that I get very excited in the call. And I tell them a little bit about my story. And that's when we deepen the connection. And I'm very grateful. That's the kind of people that I end up doing business with as well.
Georgie, it was great talking to you. I know you gave me a hard stop. I know you went over the time limit. So I hope whoever's waiting for you can understand that. But I just want to thank you for sharing your journey. Tell the audience how they could reach out to you, company name, you could say your phone number, email, whatever you want, LinkedIn profile, Instagram, Twitter handle, social security number, whatever you want to share. We'll put it in the show notes, but say it in your own words.
Yes, absolutely. So the best way to reach me would be on my LinkedIn or my Instagram. And you can find me my full name, Georgy Marrero, GeorgyMarrero. And send me a DM. My DMs are open. I talk to everyone and I read them all.
Okay. Georgie, thank you very much. I will put that all in the show notes. If anyone who's listening wants to connect with Georgie, learn more about his work at Ekis, did I say that again correctly? Ekis Capital. EQUIS Capital. Check out the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to follow The Wealth Clock on your favorite podcast platform. We are seeing many more downloads. It's been growing. I just want to thank everybody for that. Please leave a review, share this episode with someone who may be thinking about making a move in the real estate business. I'm Stephen Weinstock. Georgie, thank you very much for joining us. It was great, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Wealth Clock.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you all.